doing in this room? Why? Okay, I'm just gonna go here, I think. Yeah. Now that it's not why is it not focusing on my face? Oh, there we go. Hi, hello, long time no see again. I know, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but please blame university life because everything has just been absolutely hectic beyond words. They say second term of second year is the worst. Can confirm that is the case. Yes, hello, I'm sorry. I have just been non-stop with everything in life. Everything's just happened at once basically, so I'm a bit like and I love filming but I just haven't had time. I've managed to find about half an hour to do this video. I've come back from uni, I've now got to go back out again in I don't know how long, I don't even know what time it is, I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, I'm sat on it here. So yes, I'm going to do this video because I've had quite a lot of questions about Inpatient and I thought it would just be easier for me to do a video and then people can watch it when and as they please. There are a couple of little things I do want to say before I actually start this video. Firstly, I am not doing this video to validate myself and what I've been through, and I have just had a quick look through the questions and someone actually did say about, do I feel that being an inpatient validates the illness? No, you're diagnosed with the illness because you have the illness. You don't have to have an inpatient admission to validate the illness or make it more real or anything like that. On the diagnosis, there is no small print saying only valid if had an inpatient experience. So no, it shouldn't make you feel any less or more valid whether you've been in hospital or you haven't. So I'm not doing this to validate my experience, my recovery, my journey, whatever you want to call it. Secondly, I'm not doing this to be triggering. That is the last thing I want to do. So I do really want to point out that I am not going to make this triggering. This is going to be as little as triggering as possible. This is going, I don't know what the words are, but basically I am not going to say, hopefully not going to say anything that will trigger people. I'm not going to be mentioning weights, BMI, calorie intakes before I went into hospital, anything like that. This is more for a informative purpose and also hopefully to help reassure people and also just to give a bit of insight into what it's like, because obviously if people haven't been before, especially people who don't suffer from mental illnesses, it can be quite different to what people expect. So that's the other reason I'm doing it. And there was another reason. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was that every hospital is different. What I say might not be the same for a place you have been or are in or know of. And also, this is my experience and my view and opinions. Everybody else has their own. So what I could think about somewhere could be different to what someone else who was there at the time thinks. So please just know this is personal experience, personal preference and opinions, and I'm going to try and make this as, I was going to say as triggering as possible. No, I'm not doing that. As less triggering as I can. I'm just going to stop and get into the video. So you guys asked me on Instagram some questions and things, so I am going to get those. Actually, before we start, I will just give you a brief little background about my inpatient experience in a way. I've had 5 inpatient admissions, all have been specialised eating disorder admissions. My first was the day after my 16th birthday. So I got admitted, all of them were all different places as well, which I guess can be a good thing for this video because I can have quite a lot to compare, but also bad because I'm like, which ones do I talk about, which not, but we'll just go along with it. So yeah, this admission, day after my 16th birthday, so it was end of September 2013 to February 2014. My second admission was October 2014 to February 2015. My third admission was the start of April 2015 to the end of October 2015. Then my fourth was I think like the 1st of June, I think it was 2016, and I was there for about 7 weeks. And then my 5th was start of May 2018 till about the end of June 2018. That's just an insight. All of them, as I said, were at different hospitals, and most of them were quite far from home. My first was like an hour away, 45 minutes away from home. My second was about an hour and a half. Third was like 3 hours away. My fourth was about 45 minutes away, and my fifth was about an hour and a half away. 2 hours? I can't remember. Anyway, let's get into the questions. So, where do I start? What to take and what not to take. I feel like this is good because it's kind of like before you go. So, in a general sense as well, inpatient experience is not only just hard for the person who's having to go into hospital, but it's also hard for the family, and it's also hard for the hospital because, you know, new patients can stir up a lot of emotions, you know, also with staff, but amongst patients it's a very apprehensive time, and it can be quite difficult when someone new comes in because you may be further along your recovery than they are, and it can trigger a lot of emotions and thoughts, so it is a very difficult time. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the question now. I keep going off on tangent. Wow, what's new? Yeah, what? I think we have a delivery. It's the postman. Oh, I want to know, is it for me? I'm not expecting anything. Anyway, I will get back to this again. It's like 8th time lucky. What to take, what not to take. So every place I have been has been slightly different in things they do allow and don't allow. Adolescent units don't usually allow you to have your mobile phone. So my first 3 admissions were CAMS admissions, my second 2 were adult admissions. I wasn't allowed my phone in CAMS admissions, but oh my god, that one's silent. Yeah, so I wasn't allowed my phone in a CAMS admissions, but we were allowed a brick phone, you know, like the really old-fashioned Nokia phones which you can't do anything but text on. We were allowed those in the evening. I think it was usually from about 7 till 10. And then obviously you can make phone calls and do what you want on them, but other than that you weren't allowed phones throughout the day, whereas at adults you were allowed your phone whenever you want. With technology side of things, in adult units I was allowed my laptop, whereas in adolescent you weren't, but you could have access to computers in school hours, and a couple of mine had computers which you could access when school wasn't on. Chargers, again, difficult ones, and wires, things like hair straighteners, hair dryers. In my adult admissions I've been allowed them. In my CAMS admissions, my one place I was allowed them, the other 2 they had to be kept like in the nurse's office or in a locker, which is yours, and you'd have to ask when you wanted them, and they would give them to you. Same with things like obviously scissors, razors, sharpeners, that kind of thing. They usually have to be kept away, and then you can ask for them when you need them, and depending on your kind of risk level they may just give you them and then you use them and then you give them back, or you may have to be supervised whilst using them. Aerosols they're a little bit funny about. As I say, most adults I was fine. 2 of my adolescent ones, they weren't keen on aerosols, so yeah, take like roll-on deodorant. That is literally what I had to do. Some places you're allowed to take your own duvet and bedding and blankets and pillows, which I found quite comforting because it felt more like I was in my bed at home. There was just one place two places I wasn't allowed to take my own duvet, but the one I could have a blanket, but the other place I wasn't allowed a blanket, and they gave us like fire safety blankets, which were just like the hospital ones you'd get when you go into like a normal general hospital, so they weren't particularly great. But everywhere else, yeah. So what my mum would do was she'd ring the unit before I had to go in and kind of gauge what I could and couldn't have, so then I could pack accordingly and know what I can and can't have, really. I feel like they're the main type of things I could and couldn't have. Oh yeah, things like nail varnish sometimes they'd have to keep as well because of the glass. Yeah, I think that's mainly it for that. Daily schedule. As I say, every hospital is really different. In terms of CAMS units, in the week in school time, it does have a school, so you usually will go to school in the day. Again, depending on the unit you're in, weigh-ins can be once or twice a week. most of the places I've been to have it twice a week, and it'll be a Monday morning and a Thursday morning. One place had it on a Tuesday, no, two places had it on Tuesday morning. No, one place had it on Tuesday morning, one place had it on a Monday morning, just once a week. But everywhere else had it twice a week on a Monday and Thursday, and you basically get woken up at like 6, half 5, 6, half 6, depending on how they do it, and you get weighed, and then you can go back to bed or whatever you want to do, and then you always have to be up and dressed for breakfast, which depending on where you are, depends what time it is, but it's usually around the 8:30 mark, 8 o'clock, 8:30 mark. And then you have breakfast, and afterwards you usually have to have supervision, which is a period of time where you have to sit in the living room with all the other patients, and staff will be there, and it can vary from half an hour to an hour usually. That's how long they do it. And you have to just sit, not just sit and do nothing. Obviously you can like play games, talk, watch TV, things like that, but you have to stay in that room, stay seated, can't go to the bathroom. If you do, you usually have to be supervised by someone. In my adolescent ones, I'd go to school, and then I'd have morning snack, which was usually around 10:30. Then again you have supervision, go back to school. Lunch was usually 12:30, 12, eat lunch, have supervision, go back to school. Then afternoon snack, which is usually about 3:30, eat that, supervision. And then usually if it was school time, you would then not have school, and you might have groups, activities, things like that. And then you'd have dinner, which I think has varied from around 5 to half 6 at places I've been at. Again, eat, supervision, and then it's usually that time people start having like showers and things, and get into pyjamas, watch some TV, kind of do what you want to do. And then night snack is usually around, again, vary from 8 to 9 o'clock. And then you have supervision again, and then it's kind of up to you then what you do, or you can go to bed. Most CAMHS places have like a bedtime, but they always went out the window. Weekends are slightly different, obviously, because there's no school, but they do try to put on activities and things like that to do. And you can have visits. You can have visits in the week, but they don't allow them in school hours or like supervision. So it would be usually from about 7 till 9, 8:30, depending on when night snack was. And weekends are usually open visiting hours around meal times. And obviously if you have leave, you can go on your leave, or if you've got home leave, you go on home leave. Adults is very different, because obviously there's no school, so it can get very, very boring. That's usually the rough schedule, but it is very much based around your meal / snack times, because that's kind of one of the main important reasons why you're there. So it can get very repetitive and a little bit tedious at times, but you've just got to realise that's what you've got to do to get to where you want to be in recovery. Bathroom privacy. So this is different. So from my experience, my first admission, I didn't have privacy for the first day or two, and that was just to see how I was kind of coping, getting on. But then they took me off that, I think within a day really. My second admission, the hospital was completely different, so all bathrooms were unlocked, because generally they are locked and you have to ask to go to the toilet and they will open the bathroom for you, but all the toilets were open there, so I was absolutely fine with just going whenever I wanted. And my third admission, I didn't have bathroom privacy for I think the first week, because when you actually got admitted they'd put you on one-to-one straight away to see how you settled and kind of get to know you a little bit better, and if there's certain areas that you struggle with more. So I didn't have bathroom privacy for the first week. And also the night before weigh-in, so our weigh-in was Monday and Thursday morning, so Sunday night and Wednesday night after dinner nobody would have bathroom privacy until after weigh-in, just for obvious reasons. And if you don't know those reasons, I won't say, because it might put ideas in people's heads. But yeah, and then adults were open toilets, so you could just go, but sometimes they'd lock them after meals. But yeah, it is hard. So for those of you who don't know, someone does have to literally come into the bathroom with you, and depending on what levels of observations you need to be on, they will turn away. Sometimes they do actually have to be visibly seeing you. Luckily I never had that, especially in the shower. no, but someone did have to be in the bathroom with me, which is awful. It is horrible. I'd get toilet show, I'd sit on the toilet and I'd be like, I really need to wee and I can't wee because I've got stage fright. So if you do ever have to do that, what I do recommend is turning the tap on, because it kind of, the noise just, like, you feel like firstly you're not being heard, and secondly the water running kind of makes you automatically need to go. Showering is a nightmare, but you know, it's for your own safety, even though it really doesn't feel like it at the time. But yeah, it can be quite awkward. Oh, this is quite a good one. It's about picking up habits from other patients. I have seen it so many times and it really grinds on me. Unfortunately, because it's such a intimate environment and you know, you are surrounded by the same people every day, people do start picking up habits. And it's also very well known that if one patient starts struggling, it is very much a snowball effect, and it will affect numerous people while that happens, because, well, it can be for different reasons, you know. It can unsettle the ward and people then get very anxious when things are going on and alarms going off, but also it can make people's illnesses think, well, they're really struggling, so you should be as well. So it can be a very tricky environment to be in all the time, and I have seen people pick up habits. Obviously you see people doing behaviours they have done before they've been admitted, which you may not have done, and then it puts ideas into your head and you may pick those up. I often tried not to do that, like really tried not to do that, because it's only adding more issues onto all the ones I've got already. So I think because my first admission I was so naive about it and I was really young and didn't really know too much about what to expect and stuff, I did pick up quite a few habits. But then as I got older and stuff, I definitely tried to disengage from those type of behaviours, because I just knew that it wouldn't benefit me in any way doing that. And it did really upset me when I saw other people doing it, because I was like, no, you're just adding more work and stress to yourself. Just no, don't do it. What I recommend is, if you are going into hospital, keep your head down. Don't get involved in other people's eating disorders or other mental illnesses, because you've got enough to deal with yourself. Don't add more to it. Another question is the hardest part of being an inpatient. There's a lot. I think one of the main things is being away from like your family and friends and being in an environment that is so artificial. It really does have its pros and cons, and someone said to me, you know, like, what are the pros and the cons and things like that, and you really miss your family and your friends, but the friendships you then form are just incredible. I've met so many amazing people, and I think it's because we obviously understand what we're all going through, and we are going through it and we've been through it, so we all do understand each other. And it's really hard when you're struggling, say, in the community and all your friends don't have these issues, and you're kind of like, but who do I talk to, who can I trust? But these people get it. And it's the same with the staff, you know, it's 24/7 support, which is obviously great, but then at times it can be like, just leave me alone, I don't want to speak to anybody. Which is a lot of the time which you hear screaming and shouting about, and like, I want my privacy back, stop following me. But it is for your best interest. So yeah, the hardest part I think is being away from family and friends, and you kind of do become institutionalized because it's such a fake environment, and going home then and like back into the real world can just seem so overwhelming. I am going to probably do a separate video on that, because it can be quite a lengthy conversation. And I also think one of the hardest things is you kind of get forced into recovery. Obviously some people go in and they do want to recover, but some people go and they don't want to. And even on the days when you're having a really hard time and you really just don't want to do it, you have to do it. You have no choice, which again can be a pro, because it might have got to the point where you feel like you can't make those decisions for yourself, and giving someone else that responsibility might be easier for you, but also then them doing it stops you having the control. And yeah, it's a catch-22 situation. You can't really win, because you kind of want it, but then when you have it you don't want it. And I remember being like that. I was like, I really want to get better, I really want help, and then I'd be there and I'd be like, I don't want the help anymore, just leave me, I don't know, I don't want it, it's too scary. Yeah, the hardest thing is, there's just so many hard things. Each day is a hard day. You have different things to deal with, you know, whether that's personally or someone else who's in hospital with you. Just so many different aspects, and having to restore the weight and knowing that you have to do it, and it's really hard. It really is hard. And some days will be great, and I've had so many, probably some of my funniest times have been when I've been in hospital, especially probably my 3rd admission. Wow, we were so naughty, the things we did. Someone even did ask about some juicy, funniest like moments and stuff. I don't even know where to start. Well, the one night, I didn't personally do this, but 2 girls set the fire alarm off at like 11:30 at night, and it was the night before weigh-in, and I remember I was on the toilet, and obviously the staff member was in with me, and it went off, and we got shouted at, and that was with an aerosol, so that's one of the reasons why they don't let you have aerosols. Oh gosh, there's so many things. We went through this phase of, I don't know if people know what cacking is, but it's basically where you pull other people's trousers down, and we went through a phase of doing that, and some patient did it to a staff member, yeah. And once we went outside and a patient then threw a cup of water, this is like just jokingly, over a staff member's head, and then they threw one back. So basically when you got to like certain weights and stuff, you could do more activities and things. And I remember the one time we had physical activity, and it was a water fight, but I wasn't able to do it, but like most other people were, so I stood outside watching it, and they all came and attacked me because they knew I couldn't do anything about it. So frustrating. Oh, there's just so many hilarious things that had happened, and I really can't remember them, but just like really stupid things as well, which I feel like I can't really say because people wouldn't get it because you weren't there, but it was like absolutely hilarious at the time. Mostly tended to happen at night time when we all kind of got a bit loopy and fed up with the staff, so apologies to them, but it was funny. I've kind of done a CAMHS v adult type thing, I guess, where CAMHS is a lot more structured, whereas adults you kind of have more freedom to do what you want. They are less strict, but it's also kind of the same with outpatient services. I feel that CAMHS are on it a lot quicker. If your weight starts dropping consecutively, they will get you in. Adults tend to wait on things a little bit longer until you really are in crisis, so that's not great. What are the differences? Food wise, there's not really much difference. Someone has asked about like the meal plans and what type of food. I have mentioned this in one of my previous videos, I think. Every place I've been to have done it differently. My first unit, you were given a meal plan, and then when you had to increase, you were kind of given the next part to the meal plan, and you weren't actually allowed to pick your meals. So if you were a meat eater, you had to have the meat option regardless of what it was, and if you were a vegetarian, you had the vegetarian option. Everywhere I've been though, you can have 3 dislikes, but usually it can't be like cheese and stuff, which is so frustrating because I hate cheese. So that was my first one. My second one, they worked in stages, so if you needed an increase, you went up to the next stage, and they'd give you a weekly menu, so you'd fill in like what meals you wanted and stuff. My third unit, we had the menus up on the board for like 4-week rotations, and every morning they'd go around and ask you what you wanted for lunch and dinner. And I think it was usually between, it was 2 options, a meat and a veggie, I think. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Fourth admission, same type of thing. You were given like a weekly menu and you had to fill it out. And the same again for my 5th one, we had to fill it out. But snacks wise, some places had like, you had to have a set snack. Some it was you could choose what you wanted. Everywhere is very different. Types of food. Breakfast is usually your standard like cereal and milk, and then toast with spreads, juice, stuff like that. Morning snacks tended to be fruit and yogurts and things. Lunches varied again depending where I was, because one place you weren't allowed sandwiches unless you were a healthy weight. Other places I'd have 2 hot meals a day. Other places I'd have a hot meal in the evening and a cold meal at lunch. Sometimes that would be reversed depending on the day of the week. So it was very, very different. But you know, things like sandwiches, wraps, baguette, we didn't really have crisps. And then you'd usually have to have like puddings afterwards, which could vary from, again, depending where you are, cakes and custard to yogurts to no pudding is so different. Afternoon snacks tended to be things like chocolate bars, cakes, cereal bars, things like that. And dinner at night usually was a hot meal or a sandwich depending on the day. And again, dessert could be a yogurt rice pudding or cake, crumble, cheesecake type things. And then night snack usually was a blooming milky drink with biscuits, and I hated that. But a lot of other places did cereal, which obviously I was really happy about. But yeah, when you first go in and you should put on a refeeding plan, literally every snack is a milky drink, and that is not great when you don't like milk, like I don't like milk. No. Everywhere's different, but it's just pretty much your bog standard food. To be fair, most of the places I've been, the food has been pretty good. There's a few things I absolutely hated, but mostly it was pretty good. Did you find the controlled environment easier to eat? As I have kind of said, because you're in this environment, you have no choice. It's either you eat what's in front of you, you have the replacement, or you get tubed. That's it. You literally have no choice. So in a way, it does make it easier because you know that it's not your responsibility in a way. And if you feel guilty, you guess you can kind of blame it on someone else because you haven't chosen to eat. But on the reverse side, it can be very, very difficult when you're in a lot of distress and you're not feeling great, but you know you have to do it and you have no other option. Yeah, I think it does help. I think it does help, personally. Was it focused on a weight restoration rather than thoughts? Primarily, yes, because you're obviously being admitted because physically you are unstable and not well, and a lot of people are very unwell when they go in. So the main focus primarily is to restore some weight and get your health back to a stable point. So, and I agree with that, you need to be able to be medically stabilized before you can even think about psychologically being stabilized. But I don't agree that the whole admission should be based on weight and not your thoughts and feelings, because it's a mental illness, it's not a physical illness. It has physical side effects. Yes, they do need to be quickly sorted and stabilized, and then you will be in a better position to mentally be able to focus and engage in treatment. Adults is quite different. There's not as many groups. There are a few, but there's not that many. I think initially, yes, it is focused on the weight restoration because it has to be, but the places I've been do try and work on your head. Maybe the adult ones haven't as much, but definitely the child ones try and help you out on that point. But there's always staff around who, oh yeah, that you know, that is a big thing, like there are always staff available to speak to whenever you want to, even if it's like the middle of the night. There's always someone around who you can have a chat with if you need to. Yeah, I also found talking quite difficult, and I will say this because it might help some other people. I found writing, and I still do, a lot easier than actually speaking. So I had a thing called a communication book where I would write down my feelings and then I could give it to any staff member. I usually gave it to like the same staff members who I trusted and stuff, and then they could read it and then they could reply to it rather than having a face-to-face conversation, because I still get it today and people ask me and I'm like, yeah, great, I'm fine, and inside I'm just like, I'm not fine. I want to say this and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Communication book's a brilliant idea if people do struggle. That's if you have gone through, but I don't know how long this is going to be, so I'm going to stop it here. There are a lot more, so I can always do a part 2 of this if people find it helpful. One thing I did love about hospital, obviously the people I met, amazing, but in my adolescent ones especially, because they were so long, because it's kind of like I had to stay for the treatment, whereas my adult ones I discharged myself. We had a thing called a leavers book when we left, and you basically buy a book and staff and patients can write in it for you when you leave. And I actually found these at home and I brought them back with me. But this one's from my 3rd admission when I was in Maidenhead, and then this is actually from my 1st admission, and I haven't looked through these for a long time, and I quickly skimmed through it last night, and it made me laugh so much because obviously people know me as Little Miss Sunshine and the keep smiling thingy, and I was reading some of the little like notes and stuff people have put in, and I thought I'd read some to you to kind of show you why my catchphrase is what it is and things like that. So these are just like some little things people had wrote. So for example, this one says, well, the end part says, "You're such a lovely girl, always chatty, happy and smiley. Please never change." and some other stuff. So there's a smiley little thing. You have always been so lovely to work with and have such a beautiful smile. It's like, how many people can fit the word smile into their leaving message? Oh, this is one of my favourite staff members. So, to beautiful Talia, where do I begin? I'm going to really miss you. I love having our chats. I'm so proud of you and pleased for you and your discharge date. Don't worry about it, you'll be okay, you're strong. Your smile is so lovely and it brightens up everyone's day. Don't forget us, Talia, and stay in touch and let us know how you're getting on. We will all miss you here. Stay strong, stay happy and keep dancing. Oh, these are making me emotion. Good luck, Talia. We'll miss that big smile in the morning. Oh, I love this staff worker as well. To my beautiful Talia, it's been a true privilege knowing you. You're a little ray of sunshine. Oh, there's obviously more, but I'm not going to read the whole message from the person. I just wanted to show you why people know me for my smile. I don't really know why, but from the messages, this seems to be where it stems from. There's loads. It's absolutely loads. Aww, I love Karen. I will miss you so much, my little ray of sunshine. Why is everybody calling me a ray of sunshine? But see, this is where it seems to stem from. She wasn't she was a chef. I loved this lady. She was brilliant. To Talia, what am I going to say? I am going to miss you, in capital letters. You're a beautiful, lovely, polite, amazing young lady, so don't ever go changing. It's been an absolute pleasure to have helped you through your tough time, and I'm sure you're in a better place now to embrace your future. We will never forget you and wish you every happiness in your life ahead. Go on and take the world by storm. P.S. Keep smiling always. See, my friends, this is why. I like this staff member as well. She made it proper pretty. Oh. The unit will most definitely be a quieter place without you. And I, for one, will miss you in your craziness lots. Dear Talia, well done, my little ray of sunshine. You're leaving us to start your new life and you so deserve it. We will and all miss you, especially your energy, mischief and that beautiful smile of yours. I will be thinking of you and I wish you all the very best in what lies ahead. Be happy, be healthy, keep smiling and keep dancing. This staff member used to call me Tally Ho. She put, Dear Tally Ho, you are the most adorable little minx I have ever met. Oh, these. I'm just going to stop because I'm going to be here forever. But yeah, so that's where the little smiling, well, it didn't really stem from that, but I was reading it and I was like, everybody calls me Little Miss Sunshine and I don't really know why. Everybody always goes on about my smile, but I don't really know why. And like my catchphrase and everything. And then I read that and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was once upon a time. I'm gonna leave it at that, and I hope it was okay. I hope it didn't upset or trigger anybody. I hope it was kind of informative. I can do another part, as I said. So yeah, I'm filming this weekend, so you will have another video next week, and I'm filming the week after, so you will have another video the week after that, and that is a promise. And if I don't, you can come and hunt me down and do what you like. I really hope this is okay. Thank you so much for your patience and support every single day on Instagram and everything like that. And I will see you next week for another video. But until then, as said by this, keep smiling, my beautiful friends.